Um, so if you're uncomfortable being on camera or you're uncomfortable with us knowing your name, feel free to change it or turn off your camera. We will not be looking at your names. We don't care who says what. We really just want to hear and see trends amongst the different schools so that we can see how can we make your journey as great as possible. And then our goal is that we're really going to compile all this information and we're going to share it with the ILD leadership in the coming months around April. So the agenda that we have for the hour today is we're going to do brief introductions with our icebreaker question. Then we're going to conduct an empathy map exercise based on the questions that we sent to you in the calendar invite. And then we're going to brainstorm kind of the current versus future state of your student journey. We will be using Jamboard to facilitate these interactive parts. And then we'll have an invite to let you access that we'll put in the chat briefly. So like I said, we're going to start with some quick rounds of introductions and answering our icebreaker question of what is the general direction where you want your career to go? So I will go first because I always think it's good to lead by example. As I mentioned, my name is Jess Harley. I work in the Life Design Lab as a life design educator for student athletes. And for the general direction that I want my career to go is I want to continue having impactful relationships with the people that I'm working with, whether that be staying in higher ed or moving more into the industry. I still just want to make sure that I'm having a positive impact on the people who the things that I'm working around are giving back to each other. And then I'm going to pass it off to Jessica, who is also going to be helping to facilitate this session today and is part of our team discovery.
Hi, everyone. As Jess said, I'm Jessica, and I work at the Carey Business School in the career development team, but I'm also a part-time MBA student. And so my career has taken all sorts of turns, and I would say that generally the direction I want to go in now is focused on helping people solve problems. So utilizing project management, process improvement, design thinking, all of which to help them figure out and solve these complex problems. So I'm going to kick it over to John next.
Perfect. Yeah. My name is John Krill. I'm an undergraduate junior at HomeLed, studying psychology, leadership studies, and entrepreneurship management. The general direction I want my career to go in, when I do end up getting there, is to be in an administrative role. Right? Actually, I guess I should say I'm pursuing a career in athletic directing. And so for me, I've always wanted to pursue sort of a leadership administrative role in which I'm facilitating programs to maximize people's experience while they're at a certain space. And so for athletic directing, for me, that's creating a space for student athletes at the university level where they can thrive both in their academics and their athletic experience, because as all of you are aware, people at university are at a very pivotal time in their life where the effectiveness of their experience will influence how successful they may be moving forward. So being a part of that is something that I'm very passionate about and will love to be a part of moving forward. So that's a little about me. I'm going to hand it off to Emma.
Thanks, John. I am in my second and final year at Carey Business School. I am in the MA MBA dual degree, so I'm getting my MBA with Carey, but I'm also at Maryland Institute College of Art getting my MA in design leadership. And Jessica, when you were telling about your future imagination pathway, I was smiling because it's very much in line with what I'm also studying and planning to do. Planning to work in a design strategy kind of position. So the idea of marrying like human-centered design and product development with business strategy. I'm also interested in entrepreneurialism and just generally like solving big problems and making the world a better place, hopefully. I'm gonna popcorn to Stacy.
Hi, my name is Stacy McNall. I am currently an online-only student for getting my master's in regulatory science. I would like specifically this degree to help me transition within my company from the formulation side of R&D to more of the regulatory side of R&D. We work primarily in agriculture, so helping create longevity, the shelf life for organics, conventionals, and all sorts of ag products. I guess I will transfer it to Teresa.
Yes, thank you. I'm Teresa Lundgren. I am enrolled in a master's program in education policy through the School of Education. I'm also online only, and I'm currently based in New York State. The general direction that I want my career to go is I really want to help teachers. I was formerly a teacher. I taught for 7 years. And then during the pandemic, saw just the treatment of teachers kind of deteriorate. Not that I was in a great place to begin with, but and wanted to figure out how can I have the most and best impact on the lives of teachers. And instead of moving up through my school, decided to go into policy to make some larger, more systemic changes. Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken yet? I think that's it.
Yep, I think that's all. Awesome. Well, thank you all. We appreciate hearing those insights. That just helps us have a better idea of kind of your career path and where you think you're going to be going in the future. And so, as I mentioned, the next activity we'll be doing is more kind of empathy mapping. So I just dropped a Jamboard into the chat. How many of you all have used Jamboard before? Okay, I see one person. Very cool. That's fine. That's why I want to give a quick demonstration of exactly what it is so you know how to use it. So I will share my screen. So when you come into Jamboard, you can see there's just a question at the top, and then we're going to be using the sticky note for you all to kind of answer that question with anything that you think relates to how you felt supported with regards to your professional development. So the sticky notes are right over here underneath the select tab. So right here is the sticky note. And so based on your school color, so if you're in KSAS, you'll be yellow. If you're School of Education, you'll be green. Carrie, you're blue. And then Stacy, I wasn't sure if you're in AAP or just regular KSAS for master's program. So I just made an AAP in there just in case. But you can select it and you're just going to put, you know, what has been helpful. And you can say, let's say, I've always started with networking events. Might be something that you think has been helpful in your career journey or how you felt supported through these networking events. And then you just hit save or enter and they'll automatically go up there. You don't have to worry about moving the sticky notes around. We'll move them. We really want to go for volume. So as many things as you can think about that you felt supported with, but we want to have one idea per sticky note. So it can be kind of bullet point, short little answer of kind of those things, the opportunities that have made you feel most supported in your professional development. Does anybody have trouble getting to the sticky note or knowing how to use it, or are we people feel confident in being able to do that? Feeling good? Okay, cool. Then we can get started, and we'll have 2 minutes for this first slide. So just get as many ideas down as you possibly can. Again, go for deferred judgment, we say, and go for kind of the most you possibly can. All right.
And just real quick, it doesn't have to be specific to career offices. I know sometimes people defer to that, but it could be anything that's been impactful that helps you reach your next career goal. So anything at all.
Thank you, Jessica. Okay, 2 minutes, go ahead. About 30 more seconds. All right, finish putting that last one up there. And then we're going to navigate to the next question. So if you look at the top of the screen, you can see the little arrows. There's that 1x6, so you're going to just move it over to 2x6. And then you're going to be answering the question of how have you not felt supported with regards to your professional development. So these might be some things that aren't working well, things that pain points, things you've tried that you didn't really like, but ways that you have not felt supported. And you'll be using the same color sticky note kind of throughout this whole exercise. So you can just access them again right on the left and add to things that you've not felt supported. Any questions on that? All right, 2 minutes. About 30 seconds. All right, finish writing up that last sticky note, and then you can navigate over to slide 3. And these are ways that you feel you could have been more supported or could still be more supported with regards to your professional development. So we see these as like opportunities. What are things that could be done kind of moving forward or for other students that would be helpful? Spend 2 minutes working on that question. About 30 more seconds. Awesome. So finish putting kind of any of your last ideas, or if you have other things that you weren't able to put, you can go back and add those sticky notes. This is a living document, so even if we leave, you can always add more stuff too. And we're going to start just having a little bit of discussion and seeing some similarities that we see amongst the different sticky notes, things that maybe you really thought you want to share more about that have worked well. So I'm sharing my screen so everybody can kind of see some of the ideas that are out there, but just want to kind of have some conversation about how you all have felt supported in your kind of career development journey. Would anyone like to go first?
Sure,
Yeah.
I'll go. Oh,
Go for it. You got it. All you.
So Emma go first and then John.
Awesome.
It's the awkward
Um,
amount of time when everybody feels like they have to start speaking up.
I know, classic Zoom. I have developed the most as a leader and sort of professionally in my career, definitely through all of these student leadership opportunities. So student groups, hosting events for the like internal events and also public events has been really massive for my personal development. I was a TA last year, and this year I've been a graduate assistant for the Office of Experiential Learning and also Student Affairs. And that's been really great. That's just like helped me interact with a lot more people in sort of a facilitator role. And that's definitely developed me as a leader and in my career.
Yeah, I was going to follow up by actually talking similar experiences for me with research opportunities. I've had the unique experience this year of being in like a leadership research group, which has allowed me to explore some of those opportunities. And just, I mean, the research opportunities that are available for undergraduates at Hopkins, I think is unbelievable and something that everyone should at some point take advantage of. And another thing too, I wanted to throw in was the Life Design Lab. I've been very interactive with them over the past couple of years, which has really helped me understand that career interests are really about breaking things down into your core beliefs and values. And that the career is something that isn't the start, but is the end after the reflection of sort of who you are and what you're about. And so I'm very grateful for that as a resource to help me.
Thank you, John and Emma. I think those are both great points. I just want to see, oh, go ahead, Stacy.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I put one of the things I put was mentoring, where there was the virtual mentoring and networking connection, the One Hop, which I didn't actually use, which I know is weird that I put it on there, but it helped me give me questions and it helped really introduce me to the concept of mentoring, which I have then transferred back to my current work. And I've found that I have found a mentor within my current work. So even though I didn't use the tool given to me through JHU, I think it still really helped my career development because it really set me on a path of knowing the questions to ask and kind of making those connections within my work. And I also really appreciate the applicability of what I've learned in class, being that I'm currently functioning in a role similar to what I want to do, kind of a bridging. This degree is supposed to help bridge, and being able to feel confident in participating in those discussions that I eventually, want to take a part of and want to lead. I felt supported in that way.
That's fantastic. Glad to hear. Even if you haven't used it in your during your time here, you do learn the importance of it and it introduced it to you. So that's fantastic. And that's what I think that point of One Hop really is to show the importance and show that for students. I can move on to the next section. And Teresa, I don't know if you want to add something here about kind of maybe how you have not felt supported, or even going back to the last question, if there's certain things that you felt like you wanted to say, I would love to hear them here too.
Yeah. There was actually tie-over between these two slides. So on the first slide, I put that if we wanted to sign up for an internship class for credit, then that opportunity was available to us. And then our professors or the department actually found an internship for us. But then it was also very frustrating in that because we weren't actually given kind of any choices around where that internship would be. It was kind of like, oh, here's where we placed you. And so being able to have some more voice in kind of where you end up or what it is that you will be doing would be great in terms of professional development, especially since I actually feel like I have a pretty strong vision of where I want to go professionally, and I don't necessarily know how where I was placed will look on my resume for where I want to end up. And then just overall, my program is a 1-year online program. And since I don't really have any experience in the field, it felt very much like I don't quite know what I need to do or get done or what my resume should look like since I'm changing career paths and kind of having some of that. I've had good conversations one-on-one with teachers, with professors when I've set them up, but there hasn't been anything that's kind of been provided for us.
That's good to hear too, just knowing that you have to go and seek out those resources rather than those resources just being like, oh, I can do this. Like I know about this because they presented it to me in a class. Like, yeah, it's a big difference because other people who are in the same boat as you might not be as willing to reach out. So that's great to hear. Anyone else have things they want to add to this kind of slide? Go ahead, Stacy.
I think my biggest frustration early on was there was a thesis track that was presented in the course catalog. And then there's obviously the non-thesis track for specifically my master's degree. And when I reached out to my professor and I said, hey, I'm interested in this, or not my professor, my advisor said, hey, I'm interested in this, what do I need to do? Because it stipulated some extra classes I had to take. I don't know if it was intentional because email, but I felt shot down. I felt dismissed. There wasn't really a reason why I shouldn't pursue it. It was just, oh, no one really pursues that, end of discussion. And I like I straddle the line where I go after what I want, but at the same time, I'm really unsure about it. And so just the tone of the reply really, I felt really shut down, and which kind of sucked. Not gonna lie. I still think I made the best of the decision I ended up doing. And probably in the end, given the workload and my workload, it was the best decision for me. But it just kind of, there was like this lack of communication that I feel is exacerbated by the fact that there's no face-to-face I'm on the West Coast. So I think that was the biggest lack of support I felt.
I'm sorry to hear like that you didn't feel, and that sounds like you really didn't feel supported in that situation. So I'm sorry to hear that. And it's hard. You just want to hear what the positives and negatives of it would be. And then that way you can make your own decision versus just being shot down and saying, no, just don't do it. So I'm sorry that happened to you.
My piece is probably quite program specific, but and pretty much everything that I wrote on these 2 slides about supporting are going to be program specific. But as an MA MBA, I'm at one school and I'm also at another school. And the result is that both schools, in particular, Carey Business School, lumps us in, we're full-time students. In fact, we're dual degree students, and we get lumped in with the part-time students, which means that we don't get the same resources that the full-time students get, even though, we're full-time students with full-time needs. We don't have access to it. So I wrote things like academic advising, career development advising. The people that we have access to are the people that are overseeing all of the flex MBAs, all of the people who are part-time students, which is a huge pool of people, even though our program is only 17 in my year and 8 in the year after me. Whereas the MBA, the full-time MBAs have like a lot more folks at their disposal for that kind of career coaching, academic advising. So yeah, and then also program specific things like, or sorry, role specific things like creative role, talking about creative industries more, having more creative industries at networking events, at career fairs, etc. Would definitely be helpful.
No, I appreciate you sharing that and being so honest. Thank you. And I'm gonna just push this along to the last slide just for the sake of time. But these are some, they go kind of hand in hand with the last slide of how have you not felt supported, but how could you feel more supported? So we'd love to hear anything that you all have on here, things that I can see 3 people put career fairs. So it seems like that might be something pretty similar. And go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was gonna say with regards to the career fairs, I think having them be predictable in terms of like clusters of careers that we can be able to, I mean, I think that my experience might be different than those who have the more concentrated graduate experience, but with us, when we receive a lot of like emails about certain career fairs or industries and having to look through each of them to see if there's one that maybe we can pick out that would be of special interest to us. If we could receive something or have it structured in a way that it was predictable to, I know that this weekend is going to be things that are in a sort of group that I'm going to be aware of, and therefore I'm going to structure my schedule so that I can be available for that. That would make it a lot easier for students to be able to access those things better, especially on the undergraduate side.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Teresa.
Yeah, I'm had something that was kind of between the previous slide and this slide with I know the School of Education sends out regular emails like once or twice a week, and at the bottom of those emails it'll often have education related job postings, but it's usually just for teachers or like building administrators rather than anything policy related. I think part or most of that is just because this is the very first year of the education policy degree even existing. So perhaps that's just kind of not built into everything that's already going out, but having ones that are specifically policy related, since this is now a program, so that we have more kind of, so just so we know what's available and what's coming up.
So it sounds similar to kind of what Emma's saying, just diversifying kind of the offerings that they're sharing and sharing that there's more than just one path that you're going down. And even John, you kind of touched on that too, but like just there's so many different things that you can do with these backgrounds and these different educations, and trying to share more of those opportunities rather than just the traditional ones. So that's fantastic. Okay, so just again, for the sake of time, I'm gonna move us on, but if you have anything that we weren't able to get to, you can drop it in the chat. You can also always feel free to reach out to me or Jessica kind of offline if you want to chat more about certain things. So this next section, we're going to look a little bit more at the timeline of the student journey. So seeing from when you were admitted, so when you got that letter saying you're into Hopkins and you're deciding, okay, I'm coming here, to the end of orientation. So almost every program has some type of orientation to kick off the beginning of their cohorts or their members joining. So what are some or what could be some of the most impactful touch points you had from this kind of time frame? If there were no kind of touch points that you had, you can put that in like the current state, and then the future state's really looking like what could be. What are some things that you wish you had that would have made your kind of start of your college career more, would have made it better or better for you trying to decide kind of where you're going with your career journey? Jessica, did I miss anything?
Yeah, I would just add that don't let money or resources be a barrier here. We really want to make sure that you are thinking big, recognizing, of course, those touch points that Jess mentioned, but in the future state aspect, don't limit yourself. So if there's something amazing, cool that you think would be really awesome and helpful at that point in time, don't be afraid to jot it down there. No idea is too big. We want to hear it all.
For sure. And so you're going to have 2 minutes for this slide. And again, it's just that one time frame from when you're admitted, you got the letter, yes, I'm going to Hopkins, to pre-orientation. Any questions? Okay, 2 minutes. And please organize them by which side, because we can't help you there. About 30 more seconds. All right, finish writing kind of that last one. And then we're going to move to the after orientation. So like when you're first starting your program to the midpoint. So if you're in a 4-year degree, that might be 2 years in. If you're in a 1-year degree, it's going to be halfway through. What are those touch points that you really feel like you need? It could be programs, it could be conversations you're having. Kind of what are those things that you're going to be able to have that are helping you move towards your career development that you need earlier on in your academic journey? So spend 2 minutes really jotting down some of those things that you think are crucial for that time frame, for both current and future. So things that are currently happening and future state. Any questions? Okay, 2 minutes. About 30 more seconds. All right. And then the last one, as I'm sure you all can guess, is that midpoint to graduation time. So that second half of your academic career, what are some of those touch points or additional touch points that could be happening that would make kind of really help you on your career development journey?
And for those who aren't there yet, imagine, just think through what would be helpful.
Yeah, exactly. What would be helpful for you as you're navigating and about to leave Hopkins? And 2 minutes for this. About 30 seconds. Awesome. Finish writing up any other things that you have or adding other stickies to things that you might have thought of for the other areas. And then we're going to talk a little bit about it, and starting with that beginning. So before you even come to Hopkins, to that end of orientation timeframe, we'd love for people just to hear a little bit about what's going on, maybe things that they think might be helpful in the future.
Yeah, I can touch on the future state. I mean, quickly, the current state was it's just like introduction to the programs, policies, resources for students. And I think that in the future, what would be beneficial, just from my experience being at school, is to have more of an overview of the course offerings and program offerings that are available at Hopkins. Because there are things that I wish I would have taken advantage of, like certain classes or concentrations or such, that I didn't really know existed until I've had time to discover them 2 or 3 years in. So if that was something that was highlighted earlier in people's career, I think it allowed them to take advantage of that. And then also giving more of an emphasis on the alumni networks and making them like more integrated into like the student experience from the very beginning, because that's, I think, something that students really should be engaging with. And so making it more highlighted in the beginning of their experience, I think, will help them take advantage of it more as they're in school and as they move along.
I love that. I think, yeah, we're huge on networking. So the sooner you do that, even before you've gotten here, that can be really helpful. So I love both those points. Thank you, John. Anything else anyone wants to kind of comment on from what they put down?
Sure. We didn't get an orientation, so that would have been helpful. And there were sort of two moments of orientation that could have happened. There was the one, from when we got in to when our program officially started. There could have been some sort of like messaging other than, I think we got some email. I mean, we definitely got emails. But I think there was like maybe a pre-recorded message or something, but little something more than that. And then again, you know, we were online the first year, and now in the second year we are in person. And there could have been like there could have been an orientation also, you know, welcoming us to campus. So either two.
I think that's a great point, because COVID threw a little wrench in it, that you weren't able to actually even know what the campus looked like, but then you're coming and you're like, I'm halfway through and I don't even know what the campus looks like.
Totally, exactly. Yeah.
And
And
so
they were like,
hopefully-
oh, you don't have your badges yet? And we're like,
yeah.
no, we
No.
haven't been here.
Now, hopefully we don't run into that in the future, but still it could be good and keep in mind for future cohorts.
Yeah, I recognize it's very specialized. Yeah.
But still great point to know. So I appreciate you sharing that. I'm going to move us on to kind of this end of orientation. So you're officially a Hopkins student, to kind of that midpoint. Things that you all feel like have been helpful or could have been helpful in your journey.
I can keep talking.
Go ahead, Emma.
If no
Yeah.
one else wants to go. Cool. Yeah. So I think the big kind of revelation that I had was at the end of this past summer. I was like, oh, this summer internship was like very important, in more so than I even had realized. I mean, obviously I wanted to get an internship. Obviously I wanted to get some experience. But really the point, at least it seems for Carey students perhaps, or students in that kind of 2-year situation, is that the summer internship is the thing that is then your job after school. So having more of an emphasis on that would have been helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Right past that midpoint, when you really are starting to think what's next, is huge. Stacey or Teresa, do you have kind of things that you all have seen that have been helpful from your start of your college to maybe your midpoint, or would be helpful?
I didn't write this one, but I actually like what someone else put on the yellow sticky, that there should be more career development embedded in the academic experience. I've been actually really surprised at kind of the lack of some of those kind of business or getting a job strategies, and that they haven't been put into our courses, because most of us in our program have no experience in policy. I have learned that when they were designing the master's program, that they were expecting more people to already come in with policy experience. So I didn't think that they needed to kind of plan that in, because they anticipated you already knew what you were doing. So just putting more of that directly into the classwork would be wonderful. The things I did put on here were just more information earlier on, especially for students who are in the one-year program, about what internships look like when potential due dates are. When people started looking for internships on their own, a lot of deadlines had already passed for applying for some of the paid summer internships. And now that some people are really starting to look for summer things, it's mostly more of the unpaid positions that are available. So just getting that information out to students sooner rather than later.
This is definitely a common theme. We've heard this is our 6th one that we've hosted so far, and I feel like that's a common theme, that having really clear timelines of when things are due and when internships, you need to make sure you have your applications ready, because it is early. I mean, it's like you get on campus or you're online and it's like within a month or 2. Really important to know. And then the last one is more towards this midpoint to kind of graduation. What are the most important or most impactful touch points that you all wish you have or had, if you're already kind of past that midpoint as well? Stacey, do you want to start with this one?
Sure. So one of the ones that I know is available, and I haven't really accessed it is just the CV, utilizing my schooling because I don't have a lot of experience in the regulatory field. So using the schooling, how to best dress up my schooling for applications, for CVs, and especially because I have like 10 years industry experience. So I don't want to come in at a base salary of like a truly entry position and kind of marrying that. Like, and that's super specific to me. I get that, but so that's something that's useful. Also, things that I've found out sort of in class, sort of through the people at work that work in the field that I want to get into, is just like professional groups or societies, things that can really help continue your education. You know, what ones are out there that are good to join that will help you in your trajectory, and then continue just educational opportunities, whether they're through JHU or not, because we have for my undergrad, I still get emails from the secretary who will occasionally send out multiple things like job postings and stuff, but also extended educational opportunities. And so I think just starting to plan for beyond from that midpoint, especially for the shorter programs, how to keep learning, how to basically keep yourself relevant in this field that you're wanting to switch into, would be a good just basis to have.
And adding on to that too, one of mine that for the future state was about staying connected with the older students and recent graduates to learn from their experiences. Maybe in with what Stacey was talking about someone's experience with staying relevant, or someone's experience with like how they got jobs, or how they wish they would have had a different experience in undergrads. And I think that being able to collect that feedback and to use it to improve the programs that are available to the younger undergrads and younger students in general, is I think a really great way to continue to develop your programming for students. And so opening those lines of communication with both the oldest people that are currently in school and also those who have just left, to make sure that the experience for students is as relevant and effective as it can be.
I love both those points. And Em, I think you added one about ways to stay connected when you leave too, which I think is a great thing. So I don't think a lot of people, you think about it, Stacey, you touched on it, like how your undergrad stays in contact or provides updates on kind of what's going on. And like, that's really beneficial. So like having ways that you can stay connected and give back. Obviously One Hop now is a great one of those, but still knowing other opportunities would be great. So I saw that one pop up as you two were talking.
Yeah, I think the thing with, oh, sorry, Teresa. I think the thing with One Hop is that it's like, it's another platform that you have to
Yeah.
go through. And so you have to remember to do it. And I know for me, like, and I wrote it on a sticky, but I still have access to my undergrad email, which is pretty smart on their point in that they communicate all the time through our old email addresses, and it just forwards to what I'm looking at, day to day. And I don't have to go into another, single sign on and remember like what my undergrad email and password was. And it keeps me actually very involved with stuff that's happening there.
Something that I put on there was virtual job fairs, because I know that there are a lot of opportunities and things on campus to get involved and to meet people and to potentially network there. But when you're kind of in a virtual state intentionally, I feel like a lot of virtual programming has been cut back now that a lot of places and schools and jobs have moved back in person. So being able to maintain some of the things that we built up during the pandemic so that it's still available to people who aren't there in person.
And in general, I think it just makes it more accessible to everybody by having on virtually, because you can take it from anywhere. Like that's why we do these things virtually. It just makes it a little bit easier for everybody to zoom in from their room rather than having to meet at a central location. So definitely can see that. And then just being wary of time, I know we have about 4 minutes left, so just wanted to see if you all have any final comments that you want to share, things that like you feel like you really wish you had that we could do a better job moving forward, because that's our goal. We really just, these conversations are for us to hopefully learn how to collaborate amongst our different schools to make this better for you. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think one thing, I mean, an example of this is just to have more connection between the undergraduate and graduate schools. So like Hopkins is such a decentralized institution where we have a lot of amazing programs with great individuals, but the overlap and interaction between them, I feel, is very much lacking. And so having more of these and more of that interaction is something that I think everyone at all levels would benefit from.
Yeah, I will totally second that, John. Nicely said with decentralized. I think I know it's a massive institution, but anything that connects us, I think is people want. And not everyone wants, I'm sure, but at least some people want. And honestly, having focus groups like this, like the fact that we have someone from Homewood campus and someone from Carey Business School, asking us how we're feeling, I think makes a difference for me.
No, we're glad to hear it. And I know I've really enjoyed these conversations. I was a little nervous because it's like we have 7 of them and like we have 10 total, but I'm doing 7. I was like, how am I going to do this? But I'm like, I actually have really loved hearing them and hearing a lot of the similarities. We've heard that a lot about the decentralized of the campus and how it is super separate from everybody, and all the different career centers are doing different things that could be beneficial for a variety of students. So we love hearing that, because then it just makes it a lot more cohesive, and yeah, we see that that's a trend. Awesome. Okay, so I want to be cognizant that you all have busy schedules. So thank you all so much for joining us for this past hour. I know like I said, really enjoyed hearing your comments and hearing more about kind of your experiences on campus. For us, the next steps, as we mentioned, are we're going to try to create this one student journey for all Hopkins students across all different divisions that we're going to be presenting to our ILD leadership. We will be sharing that with you all as well, because I know that some of the biggest pain points of being in a focus group is not knowing where your work actually goes. So we do want to make sure that you all are informed of kind of how it turned out and what the final product was. I don't know when that will be. We'll have our first presentation in like April/May, but it's going to be a work in progress probably for a while. And then wanted to also let you know that for you all, like for thanking you for being here, we will be sending out DoorDash codes to each of you. So you'll each get a $15 DoorDash code that you can use at your own disposal for participating in this workshop, because we know you're busy, and so hopefully that can help alleviate kind of figuring out food for one day for you in the future when you need when you really need it. So thank you all. If you have anything else, feel free to reach out to me or Jessica or Paul. We're all available to chat with you. But have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And Jessica, yes, you can. Okay, bye.
Yay!